Sinister stories.
Officer Jake Anderson was fresh out of the police academy, eager to prove himself as a capable officer. His first solo night patrol was going smoothly until he received a call about a thief spotted near an abandoned building on the outskirts of town. Determined to make an arrest, Jake rushed to the scene. As he approached the dark and eerie building, adrenaline surged through his veins. The full moon cast an eerie glow on the crumbling walls, adding to the sense of foreboding. With his flashlight in hand, Jake cautiously entered the building, the sound of his own footsteps echoing through the desolate halls. He quickly spotted the thief, a young man with wild eyes, clutching a stolen bag. Without hesitation, Jake called out, "Stop, police!" and began to chase him deeper into the building. But as they ran, something felt off. The walls seemed to shift, the layout changing before Jake's eyes. He couldn't understand it. How could an abandoned and condemned building be this vast and labyrinthine? Panic started to rise in Jake's chest as he realized he couldn't find his way back to the entrance. The thief seemed equally disoriented, looking around with a mix of fear and confusion. Strange noises echoed through the halls, footsteps, whispers, and faint laughter. Yet the building was supposed to be empty, devoid of life. "Who's there?" Jake called out, but received no answer. The feeling of being watched intensified, sending shivers down his spine. Despite the unsettling circumstances, Jake pressed on, determined to apprehend the thief and escape this nightmare. But with each passing moment, strange occurrences intensified. Lights flickered without cause, doors slammed shut on their own, and eerie shadows danced on the walls. As they wandered through the endless hallways, the atmosphere grew suffocating, and the air seemed to thicken with an otherworldly presence. Every corner held a sense of dread, and neither the thief nor Jake could shake the feeling that they were intruders in a realm beyond their understanding. Jake's heart pounded, and his palms grew clammy as he realized they were no longer alone. Shadows shifted in the corners of his vision, and indiscernible figures lurked just out of sight. It was as if the building itself was alive, feeding off their fear. Suddenly, a chilling voice pierced the silence. "Leave this place," it whispered, causing both Jake and the thief to freeze. "You are not welcome here." Their breath hitched, and they exchanged terrified glances. Jake couldn't comprehend what was happening. Was this some kind of elaborate prank, or had they stumbled into a realm of the supernatural? But there was no time for answers as the malevolent presence closed in around them. They heard phantom footsteps, children's laughter, and guttural growls that sent shivers down their spines. The chase had become a desperate race for survival, and Jake knew they needed to find a way out. But every turn seemed to lead them deeper into the darkness. Panic gripped him as the walls seemed to close in, constricting their escape route. In the distance, they saw a faint light, a glimmer of hope that perhaps they could find the exit. But with each step towards it, the light seemed to move farther away, teasing them with false hope. Time lost all meaning as they wandered aimlessly through the haunted halls, their terror increasing with every passing moment. As they rounded another corner, they came face to face with a ghastly figure, pale and ethereal, its eyes hollow voids. Their screams echoed through the building as they turned and ran, the specter pursuing them relentlessly. But no matter how fast they ran, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were running in circles, trapped in an endless loop of terror. As their strength waned and the malevolent force closed in, Jake and the thief made a desperate decision, drawing on each other's courage, and made a final determined dash towards the flickering light. Just as they felt the presence closing in, the light grew brighter, illuminating a door at the end of the hallway. With a burst of adrenaline, they lunged for the exit and burst into the night air. Gasping for breath, they stumbled out of the building, collapsing onto the grass. They were free. They knew they had encountered something beyond their understanding, something that defied explanation. As they looked back at the abandoned building, they knew they had narrowly escaped something malevolent, something that had no place in the realm of the living. They couldn't explain what they had seen or heard. As Jake and the thief caught their breath outside the building, a sense of relief washed over them. They couldn't believe they had managed to escape the nightmarish horrors they had encountered inside. But as they looked back at the abandoned structure, they noticed something strange. The building seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was warping around it. The flickering light they had seen from the outside was gone, and the door they had just exited was nowhere to be found. Panic gripped them once more as they realized that they were not outside at all. The eerie truth began to sink in. Everything had been an illusion. They were still inside the building, trapped in a nightmarish maze of deception. The malevolent force that had tormented them was still very much present, lurking in the shadows. "No, this can't be real," Jake stammered, trying to make sense of their predicament. "We escaped. We were outside." The thief's face turned pale, his eyes wide with terror. I thought we made it out too," he mumbled, his voice trembling. As they looked around, the halls seemed to shift and change, morphing into unfamiliar passages that led them deeper into the heart of the building. The malevolent presence returned, its haunting whispers filling their ears. "I told you, you are not welcome here," the voice hissed, echoing through the empty corridors. Desperation fueled their movements as they frantically tried to find another way out, but the building seemed to taunt them, twisting and distorting to confound their efforts. The walls closed in, the air grew heavy, and the malevolent force seemed to feed off their fear. They stumbled upon the same ghastly figure they had seen before, but now it was accompanied by a host of other spectral beings, all staring at them with hollow eyes. There was no escape, no sanctuary from the horrors that surrounded them. In a final act of desperation, Jake and the thief separated, hoping to find different exits. But no matter which direction they went, they always found themselves back in the same haunting hallway, facing the same malevolent figures. Time lost all meaning as they wandered through the endless corridors, their sanity slipping away with each passing moment. The illusionary building seemed to feed on their terror, growing stronger as they grew weaker. As their hope dwindled, they knew that the only way to survive was to confront the malevolent force head-on. They stood together, facing the spectral beings, summoning every ounce of courage they had left. "We're not afraid of you," Jake shouted, his voice trembling but resolute. "You can't keep us here." The figures seemed to pause, as if considering their defiance. Then, with a bone-chilling shriek, the illusionary world around them shattered. The walls fell away, revealing the true emptiness of the building. Jake and the thief found themselves standing in a large, desolate room, the moonlight filtering through broken windows. The malevolent force was gone, leaving behind nothing but silence. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they realized that they had broken free from the illusion. They had faced their fears and found the strength to resist the malevolent force's grip on their minds. But as they looked at each other, a sense of unease lingered. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were still being watched, that the malevolent force was still out there, waiting, biding its time. With no other option, they made their way back through the abandoned building, the silence of the night amplifying their every footstep. As they emerged into the early morning light, they were left with more questions than answers. Had they truly escaped the malevolent force, or was it merely waiting for another opportunity to ensnare them once more? The haunting memories of that night would forever linger, a reminder of the darkness that could lurk within the human mind. As they walked away from the abandoned building, they couldn't help but wonder if they had truly survived, or if they were still trapped in a nightmarish illusion. The open-ended uncertainty of their fate haunted them, a chilling reminder that some horrors cannot be escaped, no matter how hard one tries.